Hey, what's going on, everybody? Have you ever noticed how, okay, so this is your baseline mood, right? When something good happens to you in your life, say some good fortune comes your way or you get something you've been wanting, your mood will elevate in response to that event, but it will also return to baseline so quickly. Even if it's something you've been working towards for quite some time and like you finally achieve it, still the feeling of achievement and celebration is so short-lived. On the other hand, if something negative happens to you, even something relatively minor, you will have the appropriate initial negative response, right? But your potential for staying down here and just festering in it for so long relative to this is so much greater. I've been doing some experimenting with these dynamics in my own life personally lately, and as far as turning this into this, I don't know. I'm at a loss on that one. But what I have been discovering is how to turn this into not only this, but even into this. Let me give you an example of something that happened that allowed me to achieve this over the last month of my life. Since I've been out of prison, I have not had a vehicle. I have ridden my bike everywhere. It's not because I am not allowed to drive. I am, and it's not because I can't afford a car. I can. I just like riding my bike. It's just been very therapeutic for me in this rebuilding period of my life. The other thing is I've been on house arrest or, on parole, so I can't really go anywhere very often. So the bike has just worked for me, and I love it. It's been about 4 weeks ago now that this happened. I was riding my bike to the grocery store as I do every week. I get to the grocery store, bring my bike up to the bike rack. I lock it to the bike rack as I always do, and I go inside to get my groceries. When I come out, the bike is gone. So presumably it was, the lock was cut and the bike was stolen. Immediately after this happened, I'm like walking with my groceries now, the 2 miles home or whatever it is, and I start to have my initial reaction. And this is just me kind of coming to terms with it in my head, realizing what an inconvenience it's going to be. I'm thinking about the person who must have stolen it and how I'm going to find them. I think I actually walked around the grocery store area a few times just looking for somebody. I knew I wasn't going to find anybody, but that's just how I was dealing with it in that moment. Like, I have to do something, right? It was early on in the weekend at that point, so I still had a couple more days before I had to figure out how I was going to get to work. So during that time, when something like this happens, this is kind of what happens with your mood. You forget about it for a small period of time, and then you remember, right? And then you're shot back down. Then you kind of forget about it, something else is going on, and then you remember, and then you get shot back down. So now it's getting close to the end of the weekend, the work week is about to start again, and it's time that I need to make a decision about what I'm gonna do here. As I'm going through all this in my head, this simple concept comes to mind, and it's something I heard from the Navy SEAL Jocko Willink. What Jocko says is anytime something bad happens, or anytime things aren't going the way you want them to, just say good. What he means by this is hidden within every negative event or disappointment, there's always an opportunity for some kind of growth if we're only willing to look for it. When I think about this, to me, it's not so much a reframing thing or an exercise in looking at a bad thing as if it were a good thing. Rather, it is more a call to action where we can accept that a bad thing happened and then investigate in which way we can apply effort to create something good in response to the bad thing. So what that looks like when applying it to my situation with the bike is I'm asking myself, what would it take? What would I have to do in order to look at this situation, look back on this situation, and feel good about it? Like, what effort could I apply to things that are under my control that could make that happen? So I'm just thinking about this and going through all these things okay, well, what if this was the thing that finally got me to get a car, but I don't really feel good about that because I don't really want a car. Do I buy a new bike, And what I kind of landed on, which at first I just kind of laughed it off because I didn't think it was something I'd actually do. I thought, what if I just started running everywhere? I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's crazy, that's funny. But that would be awesome, though. And then I kind of started thinking about like, yeah, that would be awesome actually if I could do that. But I was like, no way, I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to pull that off. I hate running, you know? But then I kept thinking about it like, dude, it would be even better for you than riding your bike everywhere. You've been wanting to find a way to get more exercise consistently. You're getting the exercise while you're accomplishing something else, which is getting yourself to work and getting around and stuff. And then all these like excuses start to come up like, well, it's the middle of winter and it's freezing bitter cold out here in Reno, Nevada during the winter time. Or like, you know, you can't, that it's really far to run, you know, it's like 3.3 miles each way to work and back. Like you're just going to suddenly start running like 6.5 miles a day. But then I started to realize that all those things were just like excuses that I was making. I'm like, people do this all the time. Runners do this all the time. You could just start doing it, you know, and it might suck, but it's not going to hurt you. It's only, if you could actually do it, it would really only make you so much happier. You would feel better. You would be proud of yourself. And when you thought about this bike thing, it would actually like, it would turn it around completely. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna do it starting tomorrow. And I did. And for the last month, I've been running every work day. I run 6.6 miles to and from work each day. And at first it really was hard and it sucked and I was really sore, but I got conditioned and I'm feeling really good now. And now I'm enjoying it so much that I'm actually spending time on my weekends now, just going out on even longer runs. Here's the thing. I know that if I would have just done the easy thing and gone out and bought a new bike, then initially what would have happened is every time I looked at that bike or thought of that money that I had to spend, you know, for that person who stole my bike, I would be bounced back down, right? I'd kind of do this or whatever, but then I'd be seeing that bike every single day and thinking about that transaction, and it'll just keep shooting me down again. Eventually, over time, you know, it probably would get to the point where it didn't bother me anymore, obviously, but I probably would have spent a lot of time from this event down in this area. Instead, what has happened is, so my mood is, you know, I'm actually kind of a pretty happy guy naturally, so my baseline might be like a little above average maybe. Now, honest to God, every time I think about my bike having been stolen, this is what happens. I get a little boost. And then every time I think about it again, I really think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. This is how I feel, because I know what happened because of that wouldn't have happened without it. Actually, you know what? It's even better than that, because due to my running, my baseline is actually increasing because I just feel healthier. I feel good. I've got all the endorphins going. So this is actually what's happening. I'm baselining out, and every time I think about it, it goes up, but my baseline is a little higher the more I run and the more fit I get. Oh, yes. This bike thing is obviously a really specific example, and every situation is different. Obviously, some situations are heavier than others, but it can actually be applied pretty universally, I think, regardless of what the situation is, even if it's a really serious traumatic situation. I've been able to apply this kind of concept to things as serious as going to prison, as having been a serious heroin addict, having lost my nursing license, having formerly been a nurse. Maybe some of you guys are 10 steps ahead of me on this, and you can share in the comments some of the situations that you've been able to turn into positive things. All right, since it's the new year, I wanted to share with you my song of the year, since I haven't done song of the week for a while. And according to my Apple Music, the song I've listened to the most this year is Teleharmonic, is the name of the song, by The Smile. That's my song of the year. Happy New Year, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.